Hello everyone and welcome, my name is Thundernumel and I welcome you to the channel. We got 4 new GemKnight support cards yesterday and I have a few thoughts about them to share with you guys. Before we get into the analysis, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, maybe leave a comment down below. It's literally free for you and it would mean so much to me. Without further ado, let's get into the cards. First of all, we have GemKnight Quartz, a level 4 Earth Fairy effect monster with 1500 attack and 1500 defense. Its effect reads: you can only use the first and the second effect of this card's name each once per turn. First, if your opponent controls a monster, you can discard this card, set one fusion continuous spell directly from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except GemKnight monsters. And second, if this card is used as fusion material for a fusion summon and sent to the graveyard or banished, you can add one GemKnight monster from your graveyard to your hand, except GemKnight Quartz. I'd like to talk about the second effect first. Recursion for fusion materials is extremely important in a fusion-based deck, and this is good even though it's just once per turn. GemKnight Obsidian has a similar effect that's not once per turn, but it has to be sent from hand to the graveyard. This can help you recur your Obsidian and then send it again in order to get a special summon from the graveyard too. As for the first effect, it's not the most amazing thing in the world. First of all, your opponent has to control a monster, which means you have to be going second, unless you're gonna be giving your opponent a monster with something like a Codebreaker engine possibly. Or alternatively, you could go into Garden Rose Maiden to search the Black Garden, then activate the Black Garden and then special summon something else to give your opponent a token. From there on out, they'll have a monster and you'll have a target to activate your GemKnight Quartz, and also you can use the new fusion spell that was revealed alongside this one. If they unban Brilliant Fusion in the TCG, which is at 1 at OCG, you could just set Brilliant Fusion, which is way more powerful than the newly revealed one, or alternatively you could set Future Fusion. But since the new errata, Future Fusion is just a really bad card. So unless they unban GemKnight Fusion, this isn't the greatest thing in the world, but even if they do unban it, you're still locked into GemKnight, so good luck with that. But it's probably worth playing for the recursion effect nonetheless. Next up we have Brilliant Rose, a level 2 light rock effect monster with 500 attack and 500 defense. Its effect reads: this card is always treated as a GemKnight card. You can only use first effect of this card's name once per turn. First, you can discard one GemKnight or Melodious card, special summon this card from your hand. And second, once per turn you can send one GemKnight or Melodious monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. This card's name, type and attribute become that sent monster's original name, type and attribute until the end phase. First of all, let me clear up the misconception that Konami is just now merging Melodious with GemKnights. Crystal Rose is also a GemKnight support card that should be supporting Melodious also, but it is as much of a Melodious support card as DD Savant Kepler is support to Volcanics. This is made just because anime storylines and nothing else. And in the same way, Brilliant Rose doesn't support Melodious in any meaningful way either. I'm sorry. It's worth noting that this is a rock monster and you can special summon it off of your Adamancipator monsters, unlike the GemKnight Quartz, which is a fairy. Free special summon is pretty nice, but the discard isn't the greatest thing in the world. If you discard Obsidian, its effect would proc, but if you discard Lazuli it wouldn't, because it's sent by cost and not by a card effect. The second effect is very reminiscent of Crystal Rose, and it would be worth playing if you want extra copies of Crystal Rose, I guess. Next up is GemKnight Lady Rose Diamond, a level 8 Earth Fairy fusion effect monster with 2700 attack and 2400 defense. Its materials are one GemKnight monster and one fairy monster, and its effect reads: first, the first time a GemKnight monster you control would be destroyed by card effect during your opponent's turn, it is not destroyed. And second, when your opponent activates a monster effect during your turn, quick effect, you can banish one GemKnight's card from your graveyard, then target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it. Protection that it gives is decent, but it's nothing to write home about. And I guess it's worth noting that the second effect isn't once per turn, so you can use it as many times as your opponent activates monster effects during your turn. It's not the most amazing form of disruption, considering the fact that you need a GemKnight monster and a fairy monster to summon it, and you're most probably not mixing your GemKnights with Melodious anyways. So probably your best bet would be to use GemKnight Quartz and a GemKnight monster in order to summon this one. Would this play through disruption? Yes, almost definitely, because let's say your opponent activates any monster effect, you chain the effect to pop, they chain the effect to negate, and you can just chain the effect to pop yet again. But this is sadly probably not the card that GemKnight players wanted to see. Next up is Scatter Fusion, a continuous spell that reads: you can only use first effect of this card's name once per turn. If your opponent controls a monster, you can fusion summon one non-rock GemKnight fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your deck as fusion material. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except GemKnight monsters. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. I'm sorry to say, but there's no two ways going about this one. It is just a worse brilliant fusion. You can only activate it if your opponent controls a monster, and you cannot summon rock fusion monsters with it. Your targets for this card are GemKnight Lady Rose Diamond, GemKnight Amethyst, GemKnight Aquamarine, GemKnight Citrine, GemKnight Prismaura, GemKnight Ruby, GemKnight Topaz, and GemKnight Seraphinite. This card could have possibly been used to provide some decent support to other archetypes, if it didn't lock you into Gemknights, that is. You could possibly use it to fusion summon into an Amethyst, then link it away into Gravity Controller in order to trigger its effects to return all set spells and traps on the field to the hand. But at that point you could be just playing Hate Runade. And I guess you could summon Prismaura and then send one Gemknight from your hand to the graveyard to destroy a card on the field, but that's just bad targeting removal that nags you. So it's still probably just Seraphinite and GemKnight Lady Rose Diamond. It's worth noting that these cards don't lock you into Gemknights for the entire turn just from the moment that you activated this card. This means that you can do your regular plays as always, and then after you're done with them you can use this card to go into your Gemknights. This probably isn't the greatest idea in the world though, but we'll see. We can all agree that Konami doesn't want Gemknights to be an FTK deck. That's why the new fusion card limits you to summoning non-rock Gemknights. The important fusions that Gemknights use in the FTK are Lady Lapis Lazuli, GemKnight Master Diamond, and possibly GemKnight Lady Brilliant Diamond. Those are sadly all rock monsters and you cannot special summon them via Scatter Fusion. Not wanting a deck to be an FTK deck is fine, but this just leaves Gemknights as a bad OTK deck, because compared to other OTK decks they need way more setup and are way more inconsistent. And if you fail to OTK on turn 2, you have no setup for turn 3. None of your cards will provide any meaningful disruption, and if you lock yourself into Gemknights you just have a bunch of bodies on the field. At least when playing the current build of Gemknights you can go into an Appaloosa or something. Also worth noting is that you cannot make Garden Rose Maiden, Halkifibrex, Cross Sheep, Cerusia, or even Curious after you activated GemKnight Quartz and Scatter Fusion. Yes, you can do that before, but Scatter Fusion doesn't summon anything really meaningful, leaving you locked into your Gemknights and being unable to do anything else. I think that we can all as a community agree with Konami that we do not want Gemknights to be an FTK deck. However, if Konami wants people to play Gemknights in a different way, they need to provide actual good ways to play Gemknights other than the FTK strategy. For the time being, I don't see Gemknights doing anything that amazing. People will still probably try to do the inconsistent FTK and they'll get away with it sometimes. As for the new cards, they will see play, but not in any meaningful way, I'm sorry to say. Hopefully we can get some new supports and Gemknights can finally shine as a good deck. Well, that's it for me. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, please leave the comment down below and I'll answer it for sure. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!